Well, happy Father's Day edition of Man Talk Monday to you. I know it's Monday, Father's Day was yesterday, but I thought, hey, how often do we get to actually celebrate the fathers in our community, and how important it is to be able to celebrate and honor the fathers in our community? So I wanted to take a little bit of time as a father of three and a professional marriage coach to bestow or share some of the tools and wisdom that I've been so grateful to obtain over the years that have really helped drive my marriage farther and help me be a better father overall. So father tip number one, learning how to crucify yourself is one of the greatest ways you can become an amazing father. What do I mean by that? You probably didn't realize there was a level of selfishness before you got married, right? And then you stepped into marriage and realized, oh man, there's some selfishness I need to deal with. And then you didn't realize there was a deeper level of selfishness once you had a kid that bubbled to the surface, and didn't bubble to the surface even in marriage. It bubbled to the surface after you had kids. And you realized it required more of you. It required more sacrifice, more presentness. Learning how to sacrifice yourself, and that's what I mean by really crucify yourself, is the art of knowing how to lay down some of the things, our wants, our desires, our selfish tendencies, in order to show up for our kids, to be more present, to be more fully engaged with them, to help them in a way that we don't always want to at times, but recognize this is the role that I was called to play. Husband tip number one. Most men are natural solvers. That's what we do. So when we hear our wives bring a problem or an issue to us, our natural tendency is to say, hey, I'm going to just step into solve mode and help you solve it so you don't have a problem. But a lot of women actually don't want us to solve it. And the biggest tool to know how to maneuver or step into a situation when your wife brings an issue to you is to simply ask this one question. Is this something you're wanting me to just listen and understand, or is this a problem you're wanting me to help solve? And when you can recognize what the road is, or the path to responding in the way your wife wants you to, in the best way, then you are setting yourself up for success and you're setting her up for success to know exactly how to show up in that moment. Parenting tip number two, meet your kids in what they're interested and passionate about. You know, I grew up largely without a father figure that knew how to engage in what I was passionate about or interested in. So a lot of times the posture that I experienced was, unless you're gonna go meet me in what I'm doing, whether you're gonna go hunting or you're gonna go fishing, the things I didn't care to do very much growing up, then I'm not gonna engage with you, or I'm not gonna connect with you in that way. I didn't experience what it meant for a father to engage with his kids in what they were passionate about and meet them there in that place, to be a support, to be an encouragement, to say, you know, go do this thing that you love because you love it. And so one of the things that I've learned is to partner with them in what they're passionate about and get educated about that, get involved in that, get an understanding of that thing that makes them come alive, and allow that to be the thing that I build relationship with, engage with them in, and it also makes them feel seen and appreciated and supported in their endeavors. Marriage tip number two. The point of conflict is never agreement. It's always understanding. If you guys are committed to being right, or you're committed to having the validation, then what you will find is that it is a losing battle. No matter who's right or who's wrong, if the other person doesn't feel known or seen or resolved with, then you can be right all you want, but you're still not going to win. You're still going to lose. And I see so many couples, I work with couples every single day, I see so many couples fighting to be right, or fighting to have the justification or the validation of coming on the right side of things. But what I can tell you is that will never actually win for the overall wellness and well-being and connectedness of your marriage. It actually will come down to, can I understand where you're coming from? Even if I don't agree with it, can I understand where you're coming from and meet you in that place? Respond to your heart in the way that you're hoping to be heard or seen or understood. Parenting tip number three, How do I control my emotions when my kids are frustrating or aggravating me, or I'm feeling angry because of what they're doing or how they're showing up? The first thing I had to recognize was that anger is typically a mask from one of two things. Either I'm feeling out of control, or it's a mask where I actually feel offended or hurt. And oftentimes when I raise my voice at my kids, or I'm responding in a way that I see them cower or feel, upset or cry, it's because I'm operating out of a place that's unhealthy. Because I'm not maintaining control, I'm actually partnering with anger, which means all of a sudden I'm now feeling out of control, and I'm now partnering with an unhealthy feeling that also isn't going to come out in the best way in my communication. So even when I feel frustrated or angry, how do I maintain my emotions? How do I maintain my body language, my control as a parent over the issue to be able to bring correction, to bring growth for them, but also not tear them down or make them feel fear in the midst of trying to correct or discipline and also maintain relational connection in the middle of it. I have to recognize what's going on in me before I just operate out of a default moment or a trigger moment or a negative emotion, because that isn't what's going to maintain relational connection with them. And it's also not going to be what allows me to show up as the adult or the parent in the situation. Marriage tip number 3 is my last and final marriage tip. One of the things that a lot of us are very familiar with are the love languages. If you don't know what that is, I suggest you go online and take the test. It's free. It's super important to know how to pursue your spouse, how they feel seen and known and loved and pursued and cherished and valued. Super important. But one tool that isn't as well known, the same gentleman that wrote that book, The 5 Love Languages, also wrote a second book called The Apology Languages. And we find this, my wife and I, we do marriage coaching. We find this to be a really healthy, helpful tool for couples in the midst of conflict. So like I mentioned, he wrote another book called the 5 Apology Languages, which is the same idea, right? That what might be an apology to you isn't necessarily an apology to me. And what we can do is, when we understand our spouse's apology language, then when conflict arises, we know exactly how to respond to them. I hear a lot of couples say, I apologize, I told her I was sorry, but the spouse actually doesn't feel like it's resolved or they've actually apologized. And it's because it's not showing up in the way that they're hoping for or needing to feel that resolve or that connectedness again. So I would really recommend you go online. You can take that test for free too at the same website, 5lovelanguages.com. It's one of the just general easy tools that you can apply and put into your marriage that, if walked out well, can actually shorten or deaden conflict or disagreement between you and your spouse. So I just want to thank you guys again for being part of the Braveheart community, for tuning into our Man Talk Mondays. We appreciate you guys. We really thrive on wanting to be men in community that sharpen one another, that are willing to grow together, that are always looking to become more than who they are now, but also recognizing our identity. God fully loves us for who we are. Thank you guys for watching. From my community to yours, Happy Father's Day.